Hey everybody, how's it going? Pastor Cisco here with one of my really good friends, Nate Edmonds, who I've known for a long, long time, way longer than Element Church. And he's our
Yeah,
worship pastor at Element. So, Nate, why don't you say hello and tell us a little bit about you and what is a worship pastor at a church?
that's a great question. Oh man, well, I've been doing this my whole life, dude, since I was 5 years old. My dad was a worship pastor, and so, but the main function is just to lead our church into worship, and then to develop a team that can do that. And that's where the work comes in, is team development and just loving on the team, recruiting team members, and equipping the saints for the work of the ministry. But the ministry of worship and leading our church into worship. That's what we bleed, man. It's a huge calling, and but it's so rewarding to look out and see other people worshiping God and know that you had anything to do to lead them there is a pretty epic calling. And we love it, man.
Man, that's so awesome. And like I said a little bit ago, we've known each other for a long time. As a matter of fact, I just recently moved, so I was going through a bunch of old files. And dude, I should have brought it. I came across
Glad
an
you didn't.
old poster. Yeah, no, it wasn't a picture of you. It wasn't a picture of you, but it was an old poster from a show that I was promoting, and your band was on the bill. I think it was at Cicero's
Nice.
in St. Louis. That's not even
Oh
around
yeah,
anymore. So,
yeah.
yeah, man. And so
I mean, I
that was
looked the
probably
same. I just might have had a bow or eyeliner or
yeah,
something weird.
probably some eyeliner, maybe. I don't know.
Might have
But
happened. I'll never admit it.
no,
Maybe I just did.
but yeah. So me and Pastor Nate, we were both in the music business. I was a music promoter and had a record label, and Nate was in a band, and they were touring, and
Hmm.
that's how we got to know each other. But now, fast forward all these years, we're both in ministry. So Nate, tell us a little bit about, like, how did you get started in ministry and full-time
Yeah.
ministry?
Like I said, my dad was a worship pastor, so I would play drums behind him. I think I was in the third grade when I started doing that. My dad would lead worship on beaches in Florida where I grew up, and I was born in St. Louis, but I grew up in Florida. And my dad would lead worship on beaches, and these huge crowds would gather, and they would just like lay hands on people. And like my mom gave her shoes away to a homeless person one night. Like we've always bled ministry. And 3 days out of high school, when I was 18 years old, I started working for a lady named Joyce Meyer. I was starting to tour with them while I was in high school. They were actually trying to get me to skip my final exams and go on tour. I was like, no, I got to graduate, man. So I graduated, and then I graduated on a Friday, and by Monday I was in full-time ministry that same week. And that was 1994. So 26 years. I don't know. Been a long run. But most of that was ministry, anything and everything. I did broadcast, television. I took the trash out, whatever, clean toilets, whatever needed to be done. But then I would also always have a worship component of that. Worship was always kind of 50% of what I did. So yeah, this is a full-time. This is probably the first full-time worship position I've ever had. I'm pushing 45 right now. So that's
Right
ministry
on,
though.
man. Yeah. So you've had a lot of ministry experience before you even came onto the Element Church staff. But you were actually serving as a volunteer at Element Church in the early
Oh yeah.
days. Tell us a little bit about how you got on board with Element Church during the startup phase.
Yeah, I was, man, I went, you knew when I was on tour with the rock band and all that kind of crazy. And I was just coming out of that. Honestly, man, like I didn't get too wild, but I just fell into some partying and some stupid stuff and just wasn't myself. And I was kind of broken, honestly. And Max Williams met me and was, just came to my house one day, and we kind of jammed with some music, and he's like, you got to come try this church called Element. It's not even a church yet. And so we were meeting at Destiny upstairs, man. It was so cool because Destiny would like open the front door and they would say, which church are you here for? And they would go, Element. Oh, they're upstairs. And then Destiny was downstairs. And so I heard Pastor Eric preach, and I was hooked from the first time I walked in the doors, man. Back then, okay, we weren't even a church yet. Back then, they provided food, coffee, greeted you at the front door, hand walked you upstairs. If it was raining, they had umbrellas at the front door. Like, I'm talking before we were ever a church, that level of excellence
Wow.
that you see now was already there. And then Pastor Eric always said, lead like we're a church of 10,000. And we were doing it at a church of 30. I don't even know what we were back then. But then we launched at the Y, and I was here, I guess I took a 2-year absence a few years back, and Left Element for a bit, but it came right back. And so been here ever since, man.
Man, that is awesome. Appreciate you sharing that, because I know, like, for some of us in ministry, one of the things that we love is what you said at the beginning, just seeing people out there worshiping and getting
Yeah.
to be a part of that is so fulfilling. And a lot of that starts with us first coming to know Christ, and having that zeal for seeing
Mhm.
others come to Christ. But tell us about, like, how did you come to know Christ? It sounds like you grew up in a Christian household and your dad was a worship leader, but do you remember when you made that decision for yourself?
I do, man. So it was twice. I rededicated my life as a freshman in high school. But when I was probably 5 years old, I know this sounds crazy, but I heard like an audible voice in my bedroom when one night, and I kept going out to my father and I was like, "Did you call me?" And he's like, "No, I didn't call you." 3 times that happened. He just like sensed in his gut. He was like, "Maybe that's the Spirit of the Lord like calling you." And so he prayed a salvation prayer with me. And I was a tiny little boy. And so I fell in love with Jesus at that point, got baptized. I think I was in second grade when I got baptized in a cold river in Florida. And um, always had this like intense passion for worship, and saw myself leading worship in like arenas and big venues at a little tiny, I was probably 6, 7, 8 years old, when I started seeing visions of that. I always said I didn't know how that even got in my head other than the Lord put it there, because I hadn't seen it in real life yet. But and when I went in junior high, my dad was so busy, we didn't have much of a relationship, and I think I kind of lost my way, not having a father figure he was there for me in certain ways, but he was just always busy, 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 busy. And I think I kind of rebelled for a couple of years, got arrested, lost my virginity at 13, like went through a rough couple of years in junior high. And then, man, God got a hold of me and surrounded me with Christian people. And even during my roughest years, I was still playing drums in church. I was just like, I was sinning, but I still love Jesus. I
Yeah.
never like walked away from my faith, but I just had some sinning to do, I say. And I
Yeah.
did it, got it all out of my system at a young age, man. And all through high school, they called me Jesus, and I was bringing my Bible to school and wearing crazy t-shirts. And like, that's just, yeah, that's all I've ever known, man.
Wow, man, that's such a cool story, and like it's such a great picture too of how good our God is, because even when we stray away, He comes after us. It's like that song
Yeah.
"Reckless Love." It's like one of my favorites, man. I'm so glad we started doing it at Element, because
Yeah.
it paints that picture of how much God loves us and comes after us.
Man, I wrote a song once. The first line is, "Lord, you haunt me with your relentless love." And I was telling my testimony about laying in the woods and the police were coming after me at, a,
Oh
at,
wow.
at 14 years old. And I heard the Lord say so clear. He's like, "You see your friends over here?" He's like, "They don't have my spirit in them, and I don't convict them in the morning like I do you, but I will haunt you, Nate." And so
Wow.
I told that story, and we put that line. He's like, "Can we use the word haunt in a worship song?" And I was like, "Yep." Because that's what it feels like when he comes after you, man. He's relentless, and he won't stop until you cave and you repent. That's a
Oh
good
man,
shepherd.
that's so good, man. So, what keeps you busy outside of church? Like, do you have some hobbies, or what do you like to do? Do you like to cook? What do you do outside of church, outside of
I wish
worship?
I liked to cook. I have to cook all the time, but I don't like it. That would be amazing if I did. Gosh, man, that's a loaded question, because I just don't have a lot of time right now, and I need to get back into that. One of my favorite things to do though is to like ride four-wheelers and ATVs like in the woods. I used to motocross, and just going fast on a dirt bike is like, that's my passion and my love, but I never get to do it right now, just out of busyness. But I got 5 kids and blended family and all that. It gets crazy. It gets
Oh
real
yeah,
crazy. But like mountain biking and dirt biking, that's one of my favorite things to do.
man, that's
Anything,
cool.
yeah.
So anything dangerous, basically, is what you're saying,
I mean,
right?
I think that's why I love it. I always say, like, you can't focus on anything else. You can't multitask or you'll die. So you,
Oh my gosh,
so,
yeah.
so you just linear focus for a few hours, man, and clear your head.
That's awesome, man. This season, and everybody has seasons, right? We were just talking about how, like, right now you haven't had a lot of time to do a lot of that stuff, and everybody goes through seasons. This has been a crazy season for pretty much everybody because of COVID. And we've all
No doubt, man.
experienced something that we've never experienced before. Having to be stuck at home for a season. And even now, not everybody that was coming to church before is coming back to our buildings. A lot of people are still online, and that's great. That's all right. But everything's different, and there's a lot of people that I'm sure have been going through a lot of hurts during this time, a lot of stress because of COVID, and because,
Oh, man.
they haven't been able to see family. And, you hear all these stories about it. What advice can you give, or what encouragement can you give as a worship leader to people right now that maybe are still feeling that effects of this has been a tough year, and they need some uplifting? What do you have to say?
Man, I can say God is faithful. I've been honestly like the toughest season of my life for about 6.5 years of just nonstop hit after hit after hit. And you just think, I can't get back up again. I can't do it. But in that, man, God's faithful, and he never leaves you, but sometimes he allows those things to test your faith. Count it all joy, my brother, when you face various trials and tribulations, for it is the testing of your faith. You don't know what you're made of, and you don't know what your faith is made of until it's tested. And so these seasons are not to harm you. They're not to hurt you. They're to lift you up, man, and strengthen your faith. And so I know it sounds cliche, but like, worship wins the war, man. And every time that I am beat down and discouraged, if I could I had this song I wrote a long time ago called Fixed in a Moment. And that is so like, that's just the truth, man. A moment in the presence of God. And you don't have to be at church for that. You can do that in your car. I've wept in my car just worshiping God, in my prayer time here in this office. Like if you can, even if it's, and I think people get tripped up like about the amount of time. Like I've spent hours in the presence of God, and I've spent 5 minutes, a moment, but it changes everything. It changes your perspective. And I'm having some family issues right now, and it changes my response to those triggers and all that stuff. If I just take a second, man, and be with Jesus, it changes my whole outlook. And then it gives me the strength to respond properly to the whatever's facing you. Cause it's daily right now, man. But
yeah,
I know it's cliche, but it's just the truth, man.
It is absolutely the truth, man. There's something so powerful in spending that time with God in worship. Because there's a transformation that happens in our hearts a lot of times when we're singing to God, and when we're just really just open. I love the idea, even when we're worshiping, our hands are up and we're open. We're in an open position to receive what God is for us in that season. So that's so good, man. Nate, I think I might have lost you for a second. Can you hear me? This is technology right here, live technology. There we go. I got you back. All right.
Was it you or me? I don't know who was dragging.
I don't know. You were only gone for a couple of seconds there. But hey, we're ready for our rapid fire bonus round, man. So I got some quick rapid fire questions. You ready?
I think so.
All right, man. Here we
Bring
go.
it.
Coffee or tea?
Okay, I prefer coffee, but I do also love tea. I just don't do it that often, but coffee is every day.
Right on. All right. Early riser or a night owl?
It's the same thing, man. It's seasonal. So like right now I'm staying up late, but normally I get up at 5 and hit the gym. So I prefer early though. I've shifted in my older age to get up early, hit the gym, get it done, spend time with God, drink a cup of coffee.
Me too, dude. Me too, man. You hit your 40s and things just change. You're just like, oh, okay.
You got to pay the price for staying up too late. It's not worth it. It's terrible.
I know, man. What's your current favorite show? Do you have a favorite TV show?
Okay, this is going to sound bad, but we watch a lot of Naked and Afraid. I know there's naked people on it, but they don't really show anything. But it's so fascinating. Like, why would you do that to yourself? Like, I just can't get over and I try to put myself in the scenario, which I would never do, but like, it's so awkward and bizarre. I can't stop watching it. I don't know why.
Dude, I've heard so many people say the same thing. And believe it or not, other worship leaders. What is it with you guys? So,
I don't know. There's a lot of butt cracks and things of that nature. But
I heard it's a fascinating show.
It's just, at first I thought like it's dumb, but then the first time I watched it, I was like, all right, this is, I couldn't do that. It's challenging, man.
Right? I couldn't even imagine. What's your favorite book? Do you have one like of all time besides the Bible?
Yeah, I have more. So I have that Puritan prayer book that I read all the time. It's called Valley of Vision. I bring that up in church
Mhm.
all the time, but people have probably heard me say that. But my other favorite is there's two by John Eldridge. Wild at Heart will change your whole life as a man. But then there's
Mhm.
one called The Beautiful Outlaw by him as well. Those are my three. Like I don't know if I would pick a favorite, but Beautiful Outlaw is about Jesus as a man, not just as God. And like, what would he like? He played tricks on his bros, and he like, he held out his hand, like, touch it. You want to touch it? Like, or he created a whip with his own hands. You know how long that must have taken? Like, he didn't throw a temper fit in the temple. He like planned that out, man. He went in like guns a blazing, drove out man and beast. So what kind of man could do that? Like, so it makes you fall in love with Jesus because you see him as his human side, not only his God side. And it's brought me to tears, man. Like it's so rich. But yeah,
Wow,
Beautiful
I'll have to
Outlaw.
check that out. I haven't read that one. Wild at Heart, yeah, dude, that one's powerful.
Yeah.
The Outlaw, right? That's the other one you said.
Beautiful Outlaw is,
Beautiful
yeah,
Outlaw. All right,
it'll make you fall in love with Jesus all over again, man. It
dude,
talks about
that's
even
good.
going to the cross. If he's fully God and fully man, we always think, well, fully God. So he took the same test as us, but he kind of had the answers on his sleeve, but he didn't. He
Mhm.
was fully God and fully man, not 50-50. And so his humanity went to the cross as well, and you start seeing that and putting yourself in that state. Like, man, wow. As a man, he did that too. It's
Wow,
beautiful, beautiful.
wow, right on. Thanks for the recommendation. And then last question, if you could meet anybody, past or present, who would it be and why?
Probably Bono from U2. And I got so close, man. I was backstage in the green room, but they wouldn't make any promises if he was coming. And I left so disappointed because I was
Oh
like, it's
man.
just my moment. God has ordained it. And he never showed up.
Dude,
But I
I'd
just have
love
so
to
many
meet him.
questions for that guy, man. Gosh.
Right on. Oh, dude, I'd love to meet him. That would be a treat. That
Yeah.
would be. Yeah. Well, Pastor Nate, thanks for hanging out with us, man, and just sharing with us. I know
It
I
was
was
fun.
encouraged. Yeah, for sure, man. And if people want to follow you or anything like that, do you have a Twitter handle, Instagram? Are you on Facebook? Where can people find you?
It's all Nate Edmonds Music is most of my handles. I'm never on Twitter though, but in nateedmonds.com, I have my book and all that stuff. All my social links are all up there. Yeah, you can check all that stuff out.
Awesome. Right on, Pastor Nate. Well, have a good rest of your day, man. Thanks for hanging out.
You too. Thanks for this. It was awesome.
Right.